Today I wanted to make a video about what I think every man should carry every single day on their person. This is for whether or not you're a rancher, you're a cowboy, you're a redneck, you're a city boy, you're a suburban guy, whether you're a mechanic, a horseback rider, a carpenter like me, or whatever the hell you do, a farmer, I don't know. But things that I think are pretty standard across the board for any grown man who is self-sufficient, who is responsible, wants to make the most of his time. So not too many things, not too many surprising things, but let's get into it. So the first thing I usually always carry with me is my cell phone, which I'm using to record right now. And multitudes of reasons why you should probably carry a cell phone no matter what you do. I pretty much have a cell phone with me every single place I go, whether I'm working, whether I'm inside the house, whether I'm working on some ranch project or cutting firewood or chopping trees down, whatever, riding horses. I always have a phone on me. If I'm hunting, fishing, whatever it may be, even before I was starting up the whole YouTube thing, always have a phone for multitudes of reasons. One, to stay in contact with your loved ones, friends and family members, stay in contact with emergency personnel, law enforcement, things like that. You never know when you might run into somebody. It's not necessarily always going to be you, but you might find somebody who's hurt, who's dying, who's cold, sick, hungry, whatever it may be, in the middle of nowhere. Or you have a horse that gets injured, or you have a house burning down, your car blew up, whatever it may be. So it never hurts to have a form of communication with you. Other reasons why you might want to carry a cell phone, like I do, obviously for the camera. I can't tell you how many times I use the camera for everything other than taking landscape pictures or pictures of people. So taking photos of things at the store, that way I remember what the price is. Taking pictures of some phone number or some instructions, or screenshotting something from Google Maps when I don't have service. Taking pictures of gosh, I don't even know, some parts you see that you need to remember to get. Taking a picture of something on your vehicle that you need to remember to get back to. A million things. So I even have pictures of all of my vehicles, all the engine bays, all the oil filters and oil that I put in, air filters that I put in, spark plugs I used, and I have all that in my phone as photographs. That way I can go back and see exactly what the engine bay looks like, if there's enough room for so-and-so, if there's which spark plug did I use, which oil did I use last time, things like that. So keep a record of all that kind of stuff through photographs. It's a lot easier than writing it down and then trying to read all that. You can just look at the picture and know exactly what you're working with. But obviously taking landscape photos and videos, doing the whole YouTube thing, I definitely enjoy having using the camera for videos like this, and hunting videos and fishing videos and backpacking, horseback riding videos. So obviously if you're not into taking videos of landscapes and cool scenery and stuff, you still might find the need to have a camera with you in your pocket at all times for all the other things that I mentioned, like note keeping and remembering certain things that you've seen or need to get back to, or whatever. Obviously I use the calendar feature, the alarm clock every single day to get up for work, the calculator, even the graphing calculators, even the bubble levels, the ruler, the compass, the Google Maps, the Onyx, oh gosh, I mean all the apps, the Garmin InReach app to text and communicate through when I'm out of service, the banking app, the email apps, everything. So even obviously YouTube, so that's all on my phone. So having access to all that is great in the field. Obviously if you're cutting firewood, you mostly don't need to open your banking app, but it never hurts to, you think of something and you need to know how much money you're working with or whatever, you can open that really quick and you got it right there. So cell phone, I think, is necessary for every man who's self-sufficient, who wants to make the most of their time, who wants to be extremely productive at all times of the day, who, like me, has a has a mind rolling 24/7. You wake up in the middle of the night and you're thinking about projects that you got to get to first thing in the morning, and you go back to sleep, you wake up in the morning, you probably forget, but nonetheless, you have a rolling mind all the time and you got to just go, go, go. So cell phone, first important, super priority item. Next up, in the same train of thought, is a watch. So if you're a middle school boy, you probably don't really care for a watch other than looks. For me, I have to know what time it is. I have to know if I'm running late to something. I have to know how long a certain task is taking me. Like at work, I don't normally wear this watch. I wear some beater watch that I bought 3 years ago that still works, and hopefully one day I'll replace it when it finally breaks, but as of now I don't need to replace it. But this is a little bit nicer, but keeping track of certain tasks, keeping track of the time of the day, that way you have a list of all the things you want to get done throughout the day, and you can look at your time, see how long certain things are taking you, prioritize accordingly if something's taking too long and something else needs to get bumped up in priority. Obviously, I also use the stopwatch. So for me, a deal breaker is a watch that does not have a stopwatch. For whatever reason, I feel like I just use a stopwatch a lot, and I'll probably have to sit down someday and make a list of all the different times I've used a stopwatch for. Like just yesterday, I was fixing my back glass on my Jeep. The little defroster contact broke off, and so I bought a repair kit with some glue and some activator and stuff, and it told me a certain time I have to hold it, a certain time I have to mix it, let the adhesive thing dry and all that. So I was using my stopwatch on my watch to make sure that task was done right, because that kit was like $16 and I really didn't want to have to do it all over again and ruin that batch. So watch, obviously for me, a deal breaker is it has to be waterproof, because like especially here in Montana, you're working in the rain, you're working in the snow, you're working in the mud. If you're working underneath the vehicle, you're getting dirt and sand and rocks and chips and sawdust and water and a whole bunch of stuff all over your watch. So it's got to be waterproof for me. Something I can just throw in the sink for a few minutes, wash with some Dawn dish soap, and it's good to go. Stainless back also would be great. That way it doesn't rust on you, it doesn't activate with your skin pH or anything like that with your sweat and oils and all that. So having a glass screen with a stainless back with a metal housing, a leather band that shows me the time, that gives me a stopwatch that shows me the date, is, for me, that's just crucial. So if it doesn't have all those things, I probably will not buy it. It's a waste of money. So I need to know what date it is, especially if it tells me the weekday. That's extremely helpful too. The light up feature and the night feature and all that I don't really use, but I'm not against it. It wouldn't be something that I wouldn't buy a watch over. But as long as it's waterproof, comfortable enough, does the job done, works right, doesn't break, I carry a watch. In the same train of thought, to be productive, to be conscious of your time, to make it to work on time, to make it to lunch on time, a whole bunch of things. So just keep track of the time and how that's going, because anyone who doesn't keep track of the time knows you end up losing a lot of time because you can't sense time passing. So and the last thing about the watch is I think every man should be punctual. I think every man should, if they say they're going to be there in 10 minutes, you be there in 9 minutes. If you're asked to be at a certain place at a certain time, you get there exactly at that time or earlier. I think it's extremely disrespectful to everybody around you, even to yourself, to be a careless, unresponsible, untimely person. So do your best. Obviously you can't always do that, but do your best to show up on time to everything that's required of you, especially if it's your friends or family and there's a family event or something. That's way more important than a business event. So make sure you don't let down the people that you love who love you back. So watch. That's number 2. Number 3 is a good pocket knife. So I'm not necessarily saying this is the pocket knife you should have. This is just what I happen to carry. I bought this pretty cheap secondhand off of someone years ago and it still works, so I haven't replaced it. I have a I have a collection of knives that I've slowly been losing over the years. So once I finally lose all of them, I'll finally buy a knife that I really like. But you need something that's strong, compact. This one has a D2 blade steel, so something that's got a really good steel that's not going to dull up on you constantly, that you can actually sharpen as well. I found that the stronger, more premium steels like the D2 and the Elmax and the S30V, S35VN, that kind of stuff actually sharpens easier for me because you have less of a burr usually to work with, and the burr comes off a lot better. So in that regard, I almost always buy the higher end steels anyways, because of sharpening is easier for me with my tools that I have. But you don't want something that's going to, you know, you drop it on the dirt one time and it's dull and you can't use it again until you go home and sharpen it. This one actually has a two-piece blade steel, so it's got D2 on the edge and it's got some softer steel here at the top, and the D2 is actually brazed together. It's got like a little swirl. I'll zoom in. Got like a little swirl, so it's got two parts. I don't really care for that, just need some good steel. I like having a good sharp point, that way you can get into things and pry them. I've used this knife in particular for getting like slivers out of my hands, cutting zip ties, open up boxes and letters, and even as a screwdriver sometimes, obviously a bottle opener. I mean, a million things you can use a knife for. So if you're a man that doesn't carry a knife, I have no idea how you make it in this life. You're probably begging everybody else to do everything for you. So a good knife. I'm not recommending this one in particular. I'm just saying this is kind of what works for me. This is the Kershaw, I believe it's the Leek. I don't remember. I want to say it's the Leek, but anyways, this one is compact. This one's strong. I've had this for many years now and still works great. So important for me is a knife that doesn't rust just from being sweaty in your pocket, that you can wash off at the end of the day with some Dawn and let it dry out overnight, and it's not going to show rust in the morning. Obviously, I really like the knives with the spring assist, just because in my opinion it almost feels like it's safer and you're less likely to cut yourself than like the thumb open. But I do use the thumb open pretty regularly too at work and stuff. So critical for me is good materials and compact enough to where you actually carry it with you and it's not bulky and ridiculous and you never take it with you because it's uncomfortable. So that's number 3. And on second note, here's another knife I usually carry. This is a Benchmade Saddle Mountain Skinner. This is a fantastic knife. I bought it for hunting. Liked it so much I pretty much carry it with me every single day for everything else. This is a S30V steel made by Benchmade. It's got some kind of hardwood, maybe rose or something, rosewood, I don't know, some kind of hardwood grips that come off with 2 screws, extremely easy. I bought this for skinning and gutting game, and I wanted something where the handle comes off really easily so I can clean all the guts out, guts and blood and whatnot. And this knife perfectly suits that build. The steel is superb. I absolutely love the S30V. It's extremely cheap for a premium steel, so you'll definitely be paying more money for like an Elmax or so I'm blanking on all the other names I used to work with when I was a machinist, but really good steel. This one is really strong. You could actually use this to pry things open, break them. You can use this to make kindling, to make tinder. This one will break pretty much anything you throw at it. This will easily kill someone and go in pretty deep and give you a good handle to do it. So I carry this with me. This gives me a lot of leverage when this little one on this little hinge just won't give you that much leverage. So don't think every man should carry 2 knives. I don't think you should carry a weak one and a strong one, but I do. I don't carry this one at work, but I carry this one pretty much every single other place I go other than work, because I just don't want to damage it and get it destroyed at work. But at home, in town, riding, hunting, fishing, I always have this thing right next to me. And this came in this leather sheath that's been severely worn out at this point now, over 3 years. And I had this little plastic insert that I had to modify. So the plastic insert kind of wore out, wasn't holding the knife in anymore, so I ended up making my own. This is a Kydex, so I just bought a sheet of Kydex on eBay and just molded it around the knife, trimmed it around the edges, and that fits in here perfectly. So I kind of have to hold it in there because it comes out in one piece. So I haven't really decided if I want to glue it in there or not, but it hasn't really been that big of an issue to where I have to make the decision right now. But having a secondary knife, extremely helpful, something that you can actually pry on and beat on. But I don't think, maybe not every single man should carry one, especially if you're like living in downtown. You probably get some heads turned your way if you got a big honking knife on your belt like I do. You could either choose to respect their opinions, or you could tell them to grow a set and deal with it. So that's up to you guys. So next thing I think every man should have is a good flashlight. So this is not a great flashlight, but it still works, so I haven't replaced it yet. Once this thing dies, I will definitely be replacing this with a really, really good flashlight. This is just some weird off-brand flashlight I got at my local ranch supply store. And it's not very bright, but it's compact, it's small, and I use it a lot. So what you could use a flashlight for, so almost like the stopwatch. I have no idea what I end up using a flashlight for. I'd have to make a list and try to remember every single time I actually use a flashlight. But finding a lost screw that you dropped, getting underneath your vehicle and looking at something, because even in broad daylight, if you're underneath your vehicle and you're looking up at something on the bottom of your engine or whatever, it's really hard to see. So just having a flashlight handy with you, you don't have to pull out your phone and smash your phone camera against something. Having a flashlight that you could dedicate to that task is a lot better. This is extremely waterproof, so that's a deal breaker for me. It has to be waterproof. That way, like the watch, at the end of the day you can clean the grease off, clean the dirt, the mud, the snow, the rain, the sweat, whatever you're in, and just wash it off with some Dawn dish soap and you're good to go. So this particular one takes 2 AAA batteries. I'm not really like battery specific, but I do think that if this thing dies on you, it's better to have a flashlight that can accept a common battery that somebody else might have or some local store might have, versus some like 18650 or something that you really can't find anywhere except online, and you have to wait for a few days to get it in. So having something that takes some common batteries is really handy, or having one that's USB rechargeable, that's really nice too. This particular one is probably about 150 lumens, maybe 130 lumens, and I think that's pretty low. Ideally you'd have something twice or more as bright as this. Something probably around 400, 500 lumens would be pretty dang good for most men out there. I wouldn't mind having something 2,000, 10,000 lumens in my pocket that's this size, but obviously you get pretty big in size. You get pretty hot having a flashlight that big in your hands, at 10,000 lumens or whatever. So ideally you can get a pretty good pocket size flashlight that can do 300 lumens, and I think every man should invest in a decent flashlight. This is probably about $10. If you spend $100 on a good flashlight, it'll probably last you for a very, very long time, and you'll find you need a flashlight a lot more than you think. So what is it, number 4? Number 5. A good lighter. Necessary, absolutely necessary. Every man out there. Now, I don't smoke. I don't plan on smoking. I don't condone smoking for the healthy robust, hard-working man out there. But I use this for everything under the sun other than smoking. So, like the other previous items, can't give you the exact list of every single thing I've ever done with my lighter since I've owned it, but the list is pretty large. So, heating something up, obviously starting a fire, melting the ends of some paracord, hardening a piece of wood, softening a piece of metal. I mean, the list is endless. So something this big, not a hard thing to carry with it. I highly recommend these windproof ones. This is a Zippo case that I've had for probably 10 years now, and the insert in here is not Zippo, it's a Vector, I believe, Thunderbird. And this is a jet. It's kind of like a windproof dual jet lighter. So it's got two jets that kind of form a point. And having that point is extremely handy for pinpoint precision work if you're heating something up and you're trying not to burn everything else around it or whatever. Or like if you're singeing some paracord on the end of your backpack or whatever, you want to hit just that tip of paracord and not burn your whole backpack or whatever, like I did not too long ago. But I think having the windproof is absolutely critical, because having the orange yellow flame ones that just blow around in the wind and the wind puts it out, and you angle it down and the fire still wants to go up and you can't really get that pinpointed accuracy, I think that's just a deal breaker for me. I just go for the windproof, the jet kinds, even better if it's like a dual jet like this. And then another deal breaker for me is it has to be refillable, because I can't just keep throwing lighters out every single time they go out, which is like every week or whatever. So having one that's refillable, I just buy a butane by the case and keep this thing going. I've had this insert probably for about 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer. And if you take care of them and you keep them in this case and you just make sure you don't drive over this with your truck, they'll last you a pretty long time. So with the lighter, deal breakers: has to be extremely durable. So in this stainless steel case, you can drop this pretty much on anything and it'll be fine. Has to be refillable, has to be windproof, has to be compact enough that you'll actually carry it. So all these items, in my experience, are compact enough for me that I carry them every single day. I wake up in the morning, throw them in my pocket, I go to work, I get out of the shower, I put pants on, I put them in my pocket, go get something done, go to town, go horseback riding. They're not big enough to where I can feel them and they're poking into my leg or anything. So having something that's comfortable that you'll actually carry is obviously critical. So next up, what do I usually carry with me? Well, I have a pair of keys. This is from my Jeep. If you're not driving or you don't own a vehicle, you won't have this. If you do have a vehicle, like I think every grown man should, or have multiple vehicles, every grown man who's self-sufficient, who's living off the land, who's working hard for their lifestyle, who's acquiring things in this life, I think you need to have a vehicle. Probably enough said about that, but I don't normally have keys in my pockets all the time. If I'm horseback riding, I don't have keys. If I'm hunting, they're in my backpack or somewhere in the car or whatever. I try not to carry keys too much, just because I can't really minimize the size of this, and this is a little bulky, this is loud, this scares the horses. All these sharp points jab into my leg. I can't make a key be any more comfortable than it is. So this is, for me, this is just a cumbersome item to carry all the time. Ideally, I would have, everything I've ever owned in my pockets at all times, but space and weight and stuff is obviously a problem. I have a 270 Winchester rifle case right here. This is a keychain I bought off eBay, and then a few years later I ended up replacing the bullet that's in here with some lead tipped one that I had laying around. This is absolutely paramount and critical to let every single person know exactly which cartridge you choose to hunt with. It's the entire definition of manhood. You have to promote a cartridge. I'm just kidding, by the way. I just thought it was cool. I used to have a 5.56 on here in high school, and then I bought a 270 rifle to hunt with, and figured why not upgrade to something bigger, so I did. I also have a Leatherman carabiner. This is just helps me get the keys secured out of the way. If I don't want them in my pocket, I could clip them to my belt loop or something. It's going to make a lot of dinging noises, so obviously that's a problem, but clip them to my water bottle, clip them to something else, a backpack. That way I know for a fact I will not lose them, because if you put them into a pocket and the pocket's not zippered, there's a possibility of those keys working their way out. And if you're horseback riding 7 miles, you really don't want to risk losing your keys somewhere on that 7-mile ride and have to back trail all the way back there and potentially never find them. So it's just not worth it to me. I have a clip on here. That clip will prevent these keys from getting loose or getting worked their way out of a pocket. I have a bottle opener on here. That's obviously critical because you got to stay hydrated whatever type of beverage you're drinking. I have some black tea right here. Don't need a bottle opener for that, but if you're drinking something that you do need a bottle opener for, handy thing to have so that you're not destroying your knife, you're not destroying your hands, you're not destroying your car keys. This really takes up no space, so I just have that on there. And then at the same time I have a little 1/4-inch hex screwdriver bit holder right there. I don't think I've used this in like the 5-6 years I've had this carabiner, but potentially I could see it coming in handy. So what is that, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? That's number 6. So number 7, wallet. This is critical as well. So I pretty much never leave the house without my wallet. If you're driving, you probably can't because you need to have your driver's license. But having something where you can keep all your fat stacks of cash, like I do right there, fat stacks of cash, and all your credit cards, so you could max out your credit cards and stuff. I'm just kidding, but I have all my concealed permits in here. Apparently I have a coffee punch card in here. My insurance information, car insurance, medical insurance, which I actually don't have medical insurance. So I live life on the edge, no medical insurance for me for a few years now. But having your driver's license, obviously critical. Having something like this just around you at all times is really handy. Like if you have an accident at home, I'm not going to go into too many details, but somebody I know had a life-threatening injury on the ranch. They got life flighted out to a different state, and nobody had any identification with them, any credit cards, any cash. And when you're having to stay in the hospital for a week or whatever, and you're needing some food, you're needing some clothing, you're needing some gas to get around, whatever it may be, it helps having some cash and some cards or whatever on hand, especially a driver's license, insurance cards, whatever it may be. So and you never know, you might meet the random panhandler and you gotta give them everything in your wallet or whatever. So I'm just kidding. I don't condone giving money to lazy people. So okay, where are we at? That's number 7. So number 8, having a good gun. Critical, I think, for every self-sufficient grown man. Okay, emptied that. This is a Ruger SR9C. This is what I've been carrying concealed for about 6 years or so, about 6 years. I think having a gun on you is extremely critical in today's day and age. Whether or not you live on a ranch, whether or not you go hunting and fishing, putting out a dead animal or dying animal, shooting a grouse here in September or whatever, shooting a person who's attacking somebody, critical to protect your life, your family's life, your friends' lives. even people you don't know, whether you're shopping, you're in town walking down the road and you see a mass shooting or something, you can stop a mass shooter. I think any grown man who can legally own a gun, which I think you should all be the type of people to legally be able to own a gun and don't have some kind of felonies and criminal issues on your record. Carry a gun. I think it's just great. It makes society nicer. It makes society safer. If every single man I've ever seen in town had a gun on them, I can't imagine the crime rate in this town it's got to be zero. Nobody's going to be dumb enough to rob a bank when every single person in the bank is carrying a gun, when every single person in the store is carrying a gun, when every school teacher is carrying a gun. Nobody's ever going to do anything stupid. So do your duty as Americans to carry a good gun, and in a holster that you can actually be comfortable with. So this is the holster I've had. This is just a Kydex single clip holster. This gun clips right in there, holds it extremely securely. I've had this holster for about as long as I've had this gun, and I've never had to upgrade this holster yet. I think I bought it on eBay for cheap, and it's done great for me, so I haven't needed to upgrade. But something that's comfortable, that you'll actually carry. The material doesn't irritate your skin or anything. I think the leather ones are prone to a lot of issues, prone to damage from water and sweat and time, and the leather will actually fold and possibly hit your trigger as you're holstering the weapon, and multiple people have been shot that way. So just go with Kydex. Easy to avoid all the issues of all the other types of materials holsters are made of nowadays. So something that you can clip into your pants. It'll hold against your belt, and that way you can carry a gun everywhere you go. Now, if I'm not concealed carrying, I usually have a gun on my hip, open carried. If I'm riding a horse, I usually open carry, because when you're bouncing around, that gun kind of really jabs you into the belly and the leg and stuff. So depends what you're doing, where you're going, how active you're going to be. Kind of changes what gun you take and how you're carrying it. But if you're just walking around, if you're working, if you're shopping, if you're sitting in a car, having a gun like this that's not too big, not too small, in a Kydex holster carried appendix for me is extremely comfortable. And I have access to it right there, and I can just draw and fire right there out the window, or if I'm walking through town, pull the jacket up and draw and fire. So I think every man, if you're over 21, if you're able-bodied and you're not a cripple and you're not in a wheelchair and you're not mentally challenged or anything, you should be carrying a gun, and do whatever you got to do to get trained, to familiarize yourself with the weapon of your choice. Be good at shooting, be good at handling various weapons. You never know, you might need to disarm somebody. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about it. This one's a 9mm. I think 9 is a perfect combination for 99% of American gun owners out there. 10mm is a little too much. 45 is unnecessary, in my opinion. You got way less ammo in your magazine, and it's harder to shoot for most people. So a 9mm is just that perfect balance where you got a good capacity in your magazine, and it's easy enough to handle and shoot. It's powerful enough to put down most people. So go with the 9 if you want to go with the 40. If you want to go with the 10mm, if you gotta go with 357 SIG or something ridiculous of that nature, go for it. Whatever works for you, but my recommendation is a 9 for 99% of Americans. Obviously carry hollow points. Don't carry full metal jackets. Full metal jackets will pretty much send all their energy to the other side of your opponent and not deliver that energy into your opponent, effectively stopping them. So you want something that the bullet will actually penetrate well, but stay inside and not come out the other end. Because if it's coming out the other end, you're losing energy outside of your target, and you want to get all that energy to stay inside that target. So hollow points, I think these are some Sig Sauer brand 147s, I believe. This is what I've been carrying for years now. They're a stainless case, so I don't have to worry about them getting, or they're like a nickel, I guess, case, but I don't have to worry about any kind of discoloration on the brass, possibly reacting with my bodily sweats and acids and stuff like that, oils, getting damaged on the case, and maybe have feeding issues or whatever. So I just go with something that's extremely slick, extremely resistant to chemicals and water and sweat and oils and stuff like that. So carry a gun. And then I usually, this is a 10 round mag, and I have one in the chamber at all times, so I have 11 rounds with me. That's perfectly fine for most people, and some guns are actually smaller than that one and will still hold more rounds. Gosh, I can't talk today. So find a gun that works for you, shoot it well, learn it, be extremely proficient in it, do your duty to keep this country safe and sound and crime free, and stop crime if you see it. So what else? Well, if you're gonna carry a gun, you're gonna need a good belt. So let me take this off. Here's a belt that I carry that I normally use. What's the brand? Justin Boots makes this belt. This is a pretty nice, extremely soft leather belt. It's got a metal buckle on it. I really like this belt. I got married in this belt. It is extremely soft. I mean, I can fold this in half and no pressure at all. Now you'll find people that strongly oppose belts that soft for carrying guns. You'll find there's someone to oppose you on every single thing you do. So find a belt that works for you, that is comfortable enough for you to wear your gun with, because if it's so stiff and so hard, like some steel titanium core belt that you're never going to want to carry a gun with because you can't sit and you can't walk, you're not going to be able to carry it. You're not going to carry it. So find a belt that works for you, that holds your gun, test it, obviously wear your belt, draw your gun a million times out of it, holster it again, make sure your belt doesn't fail, it's not weak, it's not made out of some kind of fake leather to where it's just going to crack in half and break on you. If you're going to wear a leather belt, wear a real leather belt. If you're going to wear some kind of nylon, I don't even know what you'd call it, some kind of nylon like strap type, backpack strap type belt, those are great too. Just make sure that it holds your holster. It's the right size for your holster clip right here, and that it allows you to draw your gun and holster your gun effectively without it getting bent out of shape or causing that holster to come out with the gun or something like that. So I normally wear a belt kind of like this. I don't always wear this belt exactly, but I almost always try to have my belt cinched down really tight. That way everything I have is just tight against my body. I don't like anything flopping around and getting all loose. Sadly, this belt, I'm on the last hole, so I can't make it any tighter, and sometimes I feel like I need to make it tighter. But I feel like you guys can see all I think I'm losing weight because I'm going down these belt loops right here, belt holes. But something that's comfortable enough for you to carry all the time, something that you can, like for me, I ride horses, I work construction, I'm a mechanic also at work, and I do a lot of bending over, a lot of crouching, a lot of standing up, a lot of climbing ladders, laying on my back on creepers, things like that. So I need a belt that's flexible for all that kind of stuff, and I do a lot of that similar stuff at home. At work, I usually wear a nylon kind of belt, nylon strap kind of belt. At home, I usually go with leather. When I get home, I take that off and put a leather belt on, and that works for me. So I think every man should wear a belt. Don't let your pants sag. Don't let people see your underwear or your thongs or whatever these guys are into nowadays. Disgusting, guys. I don't know how to stack this on here anymore. So find a belt that works for you, that holds your gun, that holds your knives, that holds your pants up, and make sure you match your belt with your boots. Don't buy a black belt if you don't have black shoes. Don't buy a brown belt if you don't have brown shoes. So make sure you match your belt to your shoes and you're good to go. So one last thing, I guess. I wear a wedding ring pretty much every single day. My wife wears hers. This is not applicable to every guy out there, but if you're a married guy, which I highly suggest, wear your ring and make sure you're not only reminded of your vows to your significant other, but other people are aware that you're a married man or married woman, and it's a nice reminder, and it's a nice statement to the world that marriage is still alive and well. It's still something people are doing and committed to, and relationships are still something that people commit to, and not everything is just this weird player cheating society where everyone's just screwing everybody over and everybody's making babies with whoever they want, and there's child support in every single person you ask, and this country and this world is just so messed up in that field. So I have no shame in wearing my wedding ring. It's a good reminder to myself. My wife likes it when I wear it. Other women can see this ring and know that I'm a married man. Other men can see this and know that I don't have the freedom to just do whatever I want, because I have a other half that I have to think about. So I'll put this on the stack. I think that's a good thing to have, that I actually do carry every single day. So I'll do a little zoomed in close-up of this. And then you got to have your beverage of choice, of course. Now, if you can find a way to carry this in your back pocket or inside your hat, inside your jacket or whatever, then fine. I have yet to find a way to carry my beverages, hot or cold, comfortably when I'm doing a whole bunch of active things. So maybe a flask, a water bottle, I don't know. And then for summertime, I usually always have sunglasses, have a hat of some sort, cowboy hat, flat bill hat, whatever it may be. Wintertime, I have some other hat on, but that's pretty much it. So I think my list here is pretty well fitted for most things you encounter in this world, but not obnoxious. I don't believe in carrying a tourniquet. I don't believe in carrying brass knuckles. I mean, what are you going to do with brass knuckles if you already have a gun? How can brass knuckles help you that a gun can't do? If you're already to the point where you're having to beat someone that hard, it's probably because they're committing a crime, and you should probably shoot them. So if they're like raping somebody, if they're holding someone at gunpoint, shoot them. I don't recommend getting into a brass knuckles fight with somebody who's got a gun, or someone who's got a knife, or even somebody who doesn't have a weapon and they're just a bigger guy than you, or a more trained guy than you. So I don't think you should carry brass knuckles. That's like a novelty keychain item. You either use deadly force or you use your voice to calm the situation and let everyone get home safely that night. So otherwise, you got your fists, you got your shoes, you got your teeth, you got your fingernails, you got your belt. Make something happen with that. You got a knife, probably got 2 knives like I do. So I don't think you should carry brass knuckles. Don't think you should carry a tourniquet. Some guys will probably carry some kind of little first aid kit. I mean, if you got the room in your pockets for it, go right ahead. What else? What else might somebody carry with them? a little stun gun, a little pepper spray. I mean, that's all good. I don't think every man should carry some kind of like little stun gun in their pocket or pepper spray. I just don't really see that being really handy. It's not really something that you use every single day or could potentially really need. So overall, I think my list is pretty thorough. That right there can get you through 99% of anything you'd encounter for emergencies and for being extremely productive and handy. So thanks for watching this video today, guys. If you think I missed something, let me know. If you think I'm wrong about one of these items or all of the items, let me know in the comments. I read every single thing. I reply to everything. So thanks for watching today's video, guys. And like, share, subscribe, you know, all the things. Thanks. Have a good one.